All right, so we started talking about factoring, and we wanted to take a trinomial and turn it into two binomials, but we only filled in the magic x so far. And so this is the process for doing the whole thing. And I have a little thing here to help you remember the steps. It says, my father drives a silver Mustang. And each of these means something. So the M stands for multiply. Remember, multiply the first term times the last term. The F stands for factor, which means we're going to fill in the magic x. And actually, those two steps we did already. We practiced doing them over and over. But now we're going to take it a step further. And so let's start with example 1. Okay, so M stands for multiply. First term times last term. And I need to draw my x. Make sure you draw it big enough that you can write inside of it. So 2 and negative 3 multiply and give me negative 6x squared. Then we move the middle to the bottom, so 5x. And I'm going to factor. And I'm factoring a negative 6. So here I'm going to write out my factors of negative 6. So I have negative 1, positive 6, or 1 and negative 6. Negative 2 and positive 3, or positive 2 and negative 3. And we need to find the sum. We're going to add together. So this gives me 5, negative 5, 1, and negative 1. So the factors of negative 6 that add to 5 are this right here. Negative 1x, positive 6x. All right, so now we're ready for the next step. It says divide by ax squared. This is just your first term. Okay. Our first term was 2x squared. So I'm going to divide each of my factors by 2x squared. We're going to simplify the fraction, which means I divide, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the numbers. So I have negative 1 divided by 2, which just gives me negative 1 over 2. But I'm going to tell you that there's one x on top and 2 on the bottom, and so they divide, and the 1 on top goes away, and I'm left with 1 on the bottom. Every time you'll be left with 1 on the bottom. Then we divide this. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that 3 is going to go on top. So this equals 3 over x. There's always going to be an x on the bottom. All right, and then we're going to move to create two binomials. And really what I want this to say is move the bottom to the front. Okay, move the bottom, let's do it right here. So here's my bottom to the front. Move the bottom to the front. So my final answer would look like this. 2x minus 1 times x plus 3, because that 3 is positive. Okay, and you can check your answer by going to a graph page. So on the calculator, if I go to a graph page and I type in the question, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3, and I graph it, and then I press tab and I type in the answer with parentheses, 2x minus 1 times x plus 3. What should happen is these should be equal to each other, and so it should overlap. And I push enter and they overlapped each other. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to use the calculator just to check my answers. If you want to keep your factors, because maybe you'll be able to use them again. Okay, example 2. Draw the X. Make sure there's enough room that you can write in it. Okay. And the steps are first term times last term. 3 times 20 is 60, x squared. And move the middle to the bottom, negative 19x. So I need to find factors of 60. Okay. Factors of 60. And there are a lot of factors for 60. And so again, we can use our calculator to help us figure them out if you're not sure. You just take 60 and you divide. So I know I have 1 and 60, which means -1, -60. 2 and 30, or -2, -30. Divide by 3. 3 and 20, -3, -20. 4 and 15, or -4, -15. 5 and 12, -5, -12. 6 and 10, and that's actually the last one. Okay, so I ran out of room here. So 6 and 10, or -6 and -10. Okay. Now the other thing, remember, you have to go back and you have to find the sum. So the sum here is 61, -61, 32, -32, 23, -23, 19, -19, 17, -17. My sum here, I have 16 and -16. Okay, so the factors I'm looking for this particular problem add up to -19. So that's these two. -4x, -15x. Okay, and let's finish the process. So now I divide by a. So divide by a, which is my first term, so 3x squared. Divide by 3x squared. And then simplify. I just divide this in the calculator. So I have -4 divided by 3, and so that stays the same. And -15 divided by 3 gives me that -5. So here I have -4 over 3x. And here I have -5 over x. Remember, move the bottom to the front. So that gives me 3x minus 4 and x minus 5. All right, again, we can check it in the calculator by going to a graph page. And we type in the question, 3x squared minus 19x plus 20. And then I press tab and I type in my answer, 3x minus 4 times x minus 5. And they overlap. Okay, 2 more. Number 3, draw your x so that everything fits. And now I have first term times last term, which gives me 36x squared, 12x in the center. And so I'm trying to find factors of 36. So let's write those out. Factors of 36. So 1 and 36, negative 1, negative 36. 2 and 18, negative 2, negative 18. 3 and 12, negative 3, negative 12. 4 and 9, negative 4, negative 9. And then 6 and 6. And of course, negative 6 and negative 6. Okay. And so now I have all my factors. I need to go back through and write the sum. Okay, sum here as well. So this is 37, negative 37, 20, negative 20, 15, negative 15, 13, negative 13, 12, and negative 12. So factors of 36 that add to 12, that's right here. 6x and 6x. And then we divide by the first term, which is 9x squared. And then we simplify. And so this is the same thing on both sides. So I'm going to go to a calculator page. And I'm just going to type it in. 6 divided by 9 gives me 2 over 3. And remember that we always put an x on the bottom. 2 over 3x. And then we move the bottom to the front. So I have 3x plus 2 and 3x plus 2. Now since these are exactly the same numbers, the same signs, this also could be written as 3x plus 2 all squared. Okay. And then the last one, draw your magic X. First term times last term, which ends up being the only term there. So that's negative 9x squared. Since there's no middle, that means the middle is 0. Okay, last post-it here. I'm trying to find factors of negative 9. So I have 1 and negative 9. So remember, when you have a negative number, your factors are a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive. Negative 1, positive 9. The only other factor is 3 and negative 3. And if I flip that around, it's the same thing. So now let's find the sum. This gives me negative 8, positive 8, and 0. So what I want is this right here. So I have 3x and negative 3x. So remember, we now divide by the first term, which is 9x squared. And then we simplify the fraction. And so if I simplify this, 3 divided by 9 is 1/3, so 1 over 3x. And negative 3 divided by 9 is negative 1 over 3x. And remember, move the bottom to the front. Move the bottom to the front. So 3x plus 1, 3x minus 1. All right, you try the back.